Hello folks, welcome back to Marvelous Video, where today we're looking into the 1986 Stallone movie, Cobra. What is it about? What happened behind the scenes? We'll answer all those questions and more, but before we begin the video, double check to make sure that you have tapped that subscribe button and turned on the notifications to never miss an update from us. Let's begin. In a Los Angeles supermarket, a mass shooting takes place and quickly evolves into a hostage crisis. The Los Angeles Police Department calls on the one man they can depend on to solve such a crisis, Lieutenant Marion Cobretti, the titular Cobra, who's a part of the elite zombie squad. Fearless Cobretti confronts the shooter, who begins to rant about Darwinism and speaks of a new world. Cobretti kills him to save the hostages and yells at a group of reporters outside for not prioritizing the safety of the people held hostage. Though the situation was resolved, Cobretti is reprimanded by Detective Monty for not following proper police procedure. What LAPD did not know was that the supermarket incident was just a tiny part of a whole string of violent crime, all committed by the New World. The New World was a cult led by the Night Slasher that hated modern society and everything it stood for. They believed that by killing all the weak members of society, only the strong and smart would be left behind, and they could influence the betterment of society. At the top of their hit list was Ingrid Knudsen, a local businesswoman and model, as she had witnessed the group and the Night Slasher on a killing spree. After she's attacked, Ingrid is placed in the protective custody of Marion and is part Sergeant Tony Gonzalez. While guarding Ingrid, Marion puts two and two together and theorizes that there might be a group behind the attempts, but his superiors don't listen to him. He is then moved to San Ramos with Ingrid and Tony till things calm down a little. One of their police escorts is Nancy Stahl, who happens to be the second in command of the New World. The next morning, New World cultists arrive and besiege the town in an attempt to kill Ingrid. In the shootout that follows, Marion takes down many cultists, but Tony is severely wounded. Marion prioritizes Ingrid's safety and escapes with her to a steel mill. Night Slasher and Nancy are close behind, but in the high-stakes chase, Night Slasher accidentally shoots Nancy. Marion takes Night Slasher on in a hand-to-hand combat and kills him. By this time, the California Highway Patrol is alerted. They secure San Ramos and help Gonzalez. Detective Monty meets Marion. Though he is initially apologetic, soon begins to berate him for overdoing. Marion has had enough of his bitchy boss, so he punches him and rides away with Ingrid on his motorcycle. This is the plot for Cobra, with all its signature Stallone-ness included. The origin of the story, however, is everything but cliche. It all started with Sylvester Stallone being invited to play the iconic role of Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop. We all know that it's a hilarious film, but the Italian stallion did not think that the movie fit his image. If we had to wager a guess, he was probably one and done with comedy movies after Rhinestone. Whatever might be the reason, Sly Stallone butchered the script, taking every funny bit out of it and turning it into an action-filled script that he's known for. The studios were not thrilled with Stallone's unauthorized edit, as it increased the budget and changed the genre entirely. Stallone was stubborn and simply walked out of the project. This would serve both Beverly Hills Cop and Cobra well, as Eddie Murphy stepped in for Beverly Hills Cop and made it the classic movie it is today. The rejected script, that became Cobra. Stallone had a two-movie deal with Cannon Films, who unfortunately could not put money where their mouth was. Under Golden Globus ownership, Cannon Movies had one plan: cast highly rated actors in bottom-of-the-barrel scripts and eke through. Unfortunately, this business model was taking its last breath when Cobra was made and Cannon was forced to partner up with Warner Brothers to afford Stallone. Warner Brothers became the primary producer, while Cannon was given only on-screen production credit. The logo thus does not appear in any of the opening or closing credits. Cobra took most of its inspiration from the 1971 movie Dirty Harry and Paula Gosling's novel A Running Duck, a thriller romance novel that followed the enemies to lovers trope. Gosling received a screen credit for the movie as well. There's also an allegation that when the movie came out, Stallone wanted to reissue the novel with his name as the author, but Gosling said no, and that was that. Stallone has called Marion Cobretti his third favorite character played by him, after Rambo and Rocky. The name Marion is taken from Hollywood legend John Wayne's birth name, Marion Robert Morse. In an interview after the movie, Stallone described his character as Bruce Springsteen with a bag. The script went through a lot of changes before it hit the screen. For starters, Night Slasher, who's played wonderfully by Brian Thompson, was called Abaddon. This is a reference to Abaddon, the angel of the abyss in Christian texts, and a bottomless pit in the Hebrew Bible. A truly devious character, Night Slasher was inspired by real-life serial killers Charles Manson, Richard Ramirez, and David Berkowitz. The New World cult was also more satanic in the earlier drafts, cultists reciting Latin phrases and names of demons before killing their victims in rituals. Unfortunately, Stallone didn't know any Latin, so he wrote words that to him sounded like Latin, so there's no surprise as to why that was cut. Many scenes were also changed as production began. Though the movie opened in a movie theater, the location was changed to a supermarket. Cobra had more trauma as a police officer as in the earlier drafts. A psychopath he was after had murdered his girlfriend. There was also an additional scene that had Ingrid and Cobra hiding on a boat and attacked by cultists. A major change in the movie was the last scene. Stallone had envisioned Detective Monty, revealing himself to be the real leader of the New World. This would make a lot of sense too, since New World's second in command was also a cop, and the villains, always, were one step ahead of Cobra. There would be a dramatic reveal with Monty tearing open his shirt to reveal a satanic tattoo, and Cobra would then take him down. But Andrew Robinson, the actor who played Monty, not like the end, he thought that many had been killed till that point, and the ending would take away from those moments. This influenced Stallone to just punch him in the end, and have Night Slasher as the leader of the cult. After the scripting comes the casting part. Brian Thompson had to audition 7 times to get the role as Stallone, and director George P. Cosmato thought he was too nice for the role. Thompson didn't let that deter, and he got the role immediately after his screen test. Danish actress and model Brigitte Nielsen, who also happened to be Stallone's wife at that time, was cast as Ingrid Knudsen. George P. Cosmatos, with whom Stallone had worked before on Rambo: First Blood Part 2, was to helm the project, but though Cosmatos was credited as the director, cinematographer Rick Waite claims that he was just the figurehead, while Stallone did most of the direct. Cosmatos merely agreed and stayed out of his way while Stallone mapped out scenes and planned the shots. Cosmatos was tolerable on set when Stallone was present, but when Stallone was gone, he was a real terror. When he got upset, he would explode on the cast and crew. He even told Brian Thompson once that Brian could have been a good actor if he ever listened to what Cosmatos said. Most of the crew hated working for Waite and said that he was a good producer but could not direct. The only person who had a good word for him was stuntman Corey Eubank, who compared him to John Woo, praised him for the action sequences. Stallone by this time had a massive ego because of all the success he was achieving. There was a strict rule on set that no supporting cast member or extra talked to him. He didn't show up to shoot Night Slasher's final monologue, instead opting to watch a basketball game on TV. Thompson filmed the scene with the script girl. Thompson was very dedicated to the project and constantly asked Stallone about Night Slasher's backstory. Why did he kill? What was his reason? What did he believe? Stallone, though, did not care that much about the guy who was gonna lose and simply said he was evil because he was evil. Stallone got his just desserts when he complained to Rick Waite about falling behind their schedule. Waite told him that if Stallone kept his hands off of Brigitte Nielsen and stopped showing off to his bodyguard, they wouldn't be so behind. This seemed to knock some sense into Stallone, but that only lasted a few weeks. But Waite said that though Stallone had an ego problem, he did have a sense of humor. If anyone had a hard time filming Cobra, it was definitely Brian Thompson. We already mentioned how he was mistreated by Cosmato and ignored by Stallone. To add injury to insult, Thompson had a lot of snafus on set. Night Slasher's knife was exclusively designed by Herman Schneider with a Death's Head logo at the spine and 10 steel spikes covering the hilt. It was so sharp that Thompson often cut himself accidentally. During the final fight, Stallone clocked Thompson in the jaw with the butt of a gun he was holding that left him so dazed and groggy that the stunt crew huddled around him to make sure others did not know how badly he was hurt. Even after several days of this incident, Thompson had a nasty bruise on his right cheek that hurt. Another scene that left him bloody and bruised was the final chase scene where the Night Slasher chases Ingrid through a manhole and Cobra shoots him with a gun. Before they shot the scene, Thompson asked Cosmatos, the special effects guy, whether the Bondo squib hits with the real charges would go off and hit him. The special effects guy assured him that nothing would go wrong, and even if the charges go off, his leather jacket would protect him from it. Thompson received no answer when he pointed out that his chin was exposed. To top it off, Cosmatos was in a hurry and wanted to shoot it in one take, though Thompson felt the need to do it in several takes, one involving his stunt double. He kept mum not to piss off Cosmatos further. Thompson's fears came true as the charges went off and gave him a bloody chin. After all this sweat and bloodshed in the film, Brian Thompson was not even invited to the film's premiere. He had to buy his own ticket to go see Cobra. Talk about a tough break. The first rough cut of the finished film ran over 2 hours long. The director's cut brought it down to 2 hours, but Warner Brothers feared that the popularity of Top Gun would rob Cobra of its audience. In order to increase the times it was screened, the movie was re-edited heavily and brought down to 89 minutes. Warner Brothers also had most of the graphic scenes and fighting scenes cut to avoid an X rating. Scenes that were shortened include the autopsy scene in the beginning, Ingrid's photographer's death, Night Slasher's attack on Ingrid in the hospital, scenes that included David Roche as Dan, and the car chase between Cobra and Night Slasher. There were also scenes that showed the cultists murder many townspeople. They were removed entirely for being too gory. All these tricks worked, and Cobra became a strong hitter for Warner Bros. With a debut of $15.7 million. Cobra opened at number 1. It more than gave back on its $25 million budget by grossing over $160 million, though this should have been seen as a success. Executives at Warner Bros. Were disappointed as it didn't live up to the box office legacy set by Rambo. Real glass half empty kind of people, while the box office responded favorably to Cobra. The critics had a completely opposite reaction. Their hatred did come out in creative expression. Stallone was called an empty Hulk, and the movie was blamed of showing contempt for fundamental American value. The consensus was that it was mindlessly violent and downright laughable. I mean, they weren't exactly wrong. The movie is filled with manufactured macho-ness, cheesy one-liner, and Stallone hardly removes his shades and leather glove. But then again, it's an action movie of the 80s. What more could you expect? Needless to say, Cobra was nominated for 6 Golden Raspberry Awards, despite the critics seeing no value and fans wanted more. In 1986, a video game was made based on the film, and in 1987, Canon Films and Warner Brothers planned a sequel, but it never saw the light of day. In 2019, there were talks of Cobra making his TV series debut, with director Robert Rodriguez helming the project. But as of now, there's been no news of it. Ryan Gosling, a fan of emulated Stallone and Nicholas Winding Refn's movie, Drive. The legacy of Cobra lives on, inspiring many. Marvelous verdict. If Cobra's story was seen on paper, it would be easy to call it a failure. The producers were broke. The director did not direct. The primary actor had a massive ego during film, and the critics hated it. But despite this, Cobra has a cult following. It could be Sylvester Stallone and Brian Thompson's dedicated acting, or it could be the pull of the plot, of the good guys winning despite all odds. Why do you think Cobra is still so enduring? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like the video, please tap on that thumbs up. We'll soon be back with more awesome content, and until then, take care.